This is Lee's Listening episode 5, and this is kind of a new concept one for you. This is recommendations reviews. So, over the past month or so, I've been collecting people's recommendations and listening to them. I would love to say that these are listener or fan recommendations, but I'm just going to be honest. These are from family and friends. Um, maybe someday I'll have some outside fans in the future that will provide recommendations, or I won't, and that's okay too. The purpose of me starting this podcast was to inspire conversation around music and inspire more sharing of music between people. You know, I truly think that we get stuck in listening to the same stuff, and there's so much music out there that, and everyone listens to different stuff these days. So, the point of this podcast is to have that conversation, and also it opens my mind up as well to get me more familiar with different styles and to see what other people are listening to, because I don't want to get stuck in that either. So how I'm going to do this is each thing that I review here, I'm going to give each album I review here, I'm going to give a rating of will listen to again, might listen to again, or won't listen to again. And so here we go. I'm going to get into it. The first one, I'm going to start with, I got a Christmas recommendation. And so I got to start with that one because it is the Christmas season, holiday season. So I got a recommendation from my buddy Josh, who you may remember from the last episode, if you listened to it. He recommended to me A Joyful Sound by Kelly Finnigan, which this is great because I need more Christmas music. I get tired of listening to the same stuff. And also, just so you know, Kelly is a man. It kind of threw me off because when I put it on, I'm like, oh, okay, this is different than I expected. So, but this album sounded like if Marvin Gaye, Curtis Mayfield, Sam and Dave, and Black Pumas, artists in that realm, wrote and recorded a Christmas album. I mean, this is great soul and R&B music. This was fantastic. I loved this. Kelly made an album of new Christmas songs. I mean, these are not your normal ones that you hear all the time. These are all new, original, unique Christmas songs. It's just great soul music. It's got great organ, saxophone, flutes. The vocals are great. It's funky. It's groovy. I don't really want to say too much more about this. I just go listen to it, and because we hear so much of the same Christmas music that it was really refreshing to get a whole new album of original songs, and this was unique and creative and a great listen, and I loved this. So this gets will return to every Christmas, and a few more times this Christmas. That was A Joyful Sound by Kelly Finnigan, recommended to me from Josh. So my next one is my only hip-hop recommendation, and this comes from my friend Jordan. This is Doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal. And so I wanted to mention this one especially because this is a 2024 release and is going to be one of my honorable mentions of the year. It didn't quite make it to my top 25 of the year, but this is an honorable mention. This album is cool. So Doechii comes out hot on this album. First 3 tracks, some quick minimal beats just rapping her ass off. Catchy hooks and beats, specifically Boiled Peanuts. She's doing a ha 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 ha. It's so it's so cool. She gave me some 90s hip hop vibes on these first 3, and then she also goes into a really cool conceptual song called Denial is a River. The concept is so good. She's talking highly of her life, and then she's like, okay, let's be real. It's been a really tough time. And then she's kind of talking to herself. She's like, you mean drugs? I'm not addicted. And it's so cool. She really emulates Denial in this. I've never quite heard a song like this, so I thought the concept was really cool. And Jordan specifically sent me that song, and that's what kind of made me go and listen to this whole album. And also parts on this, while on some of these more aggressive songs or some of these more hip hop centered songs, rap centered songs, she gets aggressive. like Nicki Minaj kind of in Monster, from the Kanye song. Um, Catfish might be my favorite song. So this is all towards the beginning. The only issue I have with it is that they're very short. So every time I kind of got into it, it would kind of move on. I would get in the groove and then it ends. But, I got to say, she gives you a lot of different beats. That's pretty cool, too. Like, I do like that. After these few, she moves into a few more melodic songs. So it almost feels like she does things in sets. Like she kind of hits you with some hard rap songs and then comes in with some more melodic songs. Then back into rapping hard with Death Roll, Boom Bap, and Nissan Altima. I mean, all these songs are rapping her ass off. I gotta say, those are probably my favorite. I do like the more melodic ones too, but I gotta shout out Nissan Altima is actually crazy. So I would say that and Catfish and Denial is a River is just the concept is incredible too. And then she goes back into a few more melodic songs, but she gives you like 19 songs, 19 different beats, a shit ton of different flows. I mean, the beats change. She keeps you on your toes this entire listen. I mean, this is a fun listen for that aspect in itself. And I think she has so much potential, and I cannot wait to see what she does in the future. This album is really cool. Definitely a will return to and have returned to. All right. So that was Doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal. My only hip-hop recommendation. So if you're a hip-hop head, let's, check that one out. My next one comes from my cousin Melody. This is an album by Lawrence called Acoustic-ish, an album-ish. Hilarious title. I was not familiar with them, so I looked into them, and so they're actually two vocalists and songwriters that are siblings, one male and one female. And they have created a soul pop band. And this is some wholesome, fun music. I mean, the first song blew me away with how fun it was and all the instruments in it. It gave me like Lizzo vibes a little bit. Incredible vocals. Like at times just blew me away with the power of the vocals. And they do some really interesting things vocally on here too, harmonizing and even going a bit a cappella at parts and using their voices as instruments too, like bass lines and beatboxing. I will say, only gripe, lyrics are a bit corny for my taste. Could have a more unique perspective lyrically, but the music is so good that it doesn't matter, and it's supposed to be fun. It's not deep. It's not supposed to be deep. So I mean, the instrumentation on this too, great piano and horns. And I gotta say, the way they build these songs up is incredible. Every song has a powerful crescendo with just explosive vocals at the end. I'm trying to figure out the acoustic-ish concept. I think it is that they build up each song from starting acoustic and then they add layers as the song goes on. So there's add and add and add. Or maybe these are more instrumental and different than their normal recordings. I'm not sure. So I'll have to dive back into their other stuff to understand what makes this acoustic-ish. But this album is fun. This kind of blew me away in a lot of aspects. So this also gets a will return to. So far, we've got all will return tos. I know, but don't worry. We're gonna shake it up a little bit coming up. My next recommendation review comes from my other cousin. Let me mention real quick that last one was Lawrence, acoustic-ish and album-ish, recommended from my cousin Melody. This one also comes from my other cousin Marissa. This is Juice, Nothing Like a Dream live session. So it's actually a live session from this band. And this was, they seem like they're kind of a jam band. I'm not familiar with them either, but from this, I'm getting like jam band funky vibes from them. But like alternative rock too, but with some good soul to it. I thought the vocals were great, instrumentation was great, guitar, even violin was in this too. And the violin intros a song with the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. That was pretty cool. I thought the choruses were catchy. I think my favorite song, and probably because of the chorus, is The Cruelest Thing. That was probably my favorite. Um, but they get funky as well at times. This was a really cool listen, and it was interesting that they ended with a cover of "Good Times, Bad Times" by Led Zeppelin, and they did a great job with that cover too. So this was a great listen. Yeah, it's pretty short, so I don't have a super detailed review of it. But this was Juice, Nothing Like a Dream live session, and that gets a will return to. Um, Next one, Middle Kids, New Songs for Old Problems. Name of the band is Middle Kids. This comes from my friend Claudia. Middle Kids, New Songs for Old Problems is the name of the album. This is alternative rock, indie rock, punkish at points, kind of. Catchy choruses, nice fuzzy guitar riffs. It reminded me of a band I like called the Beths. So if you dig this, check out the Beths. I could also make some comparisons to Haim, I think that's how you say it, which is a more popular band. I think they were like opening for Taylor Swift or something, so they've gotten some acclaim. I'm just trying to relate it to, some stuff that you may have already heard before. So I like the music, but what really got me was the lyrics. I mean, the album starts with the lyric, "We accept all beliefs and prayers, but if you don't agree, you can sit over there." I'm just like, that's great. That's great. And in general, the lyrics are kind of snarky and cynical. Another lyric I liked was, "You're never mean, but you're never that kind." I think that's great. A lot of lyrics about self-doubt and defeat. Also, dealing with some bad memories. Lyrics like "Memories make me mad. I wish I could tip my brain and drain them out," she says. And it fits the vibe of the music. There's nothing too crazy impressive instrumentally. Some good guitar parts and drums were good. But the music, it really backs up the lyrics and vocals well. And I found the lyrics specifically inspirational because they're kind of like the lyrics I write, cynical and snarky. So this was inspirational to me, and returning to this, yes, this is a will return to as well. So we've got all will return to so far, but we have reached one. This is Claudia's second recommendation to me, and she recommended this to me for a broader audience. This is Blink 182's newest album, and I didn't even write down the name of the album. Um, she said it was fun, easy, fun, and nostalgic. So I'm not sure if she loved it herself. I think she may have wanted to hear my thoughts on it, and she knows how I am. We've known each other over 10 years now. She knows I'm a bit of a snob. She may have wanted to just hear me talk about this one. Maybe not. But I got to start with saying I've never been a Blink 182 fan, and so my expectations for liking this going into it were pretty low. So the first track had me thinking I was going to like this album. I'm sitting there like, am I actually going to like this? And then the singer comes in. And to be honest, the singer for Blink just kind of messes it up for me. It's like that high pitched, "Whoa, man," I whining, and I just can't get into it. But with that said, I did like the first song, and I was like, okay, am I going to like this? And then the next song I did not like. The chorus was like, "Ole, ole, ole." And there were other choruses on their album that were like, "Hey, hey, hey," and "Whoa." Just pretty corny to me. I just don't like that stuff personally. The music itself isn't bad. The drums are amazing, honestly. The guitar doesn't do much though, and the vocals and lyrics just don't do it for me and are just so corny. I mean, I think he was like, "When I took you out for sushi, you don't know you don't know what you've got," and just like very basic teenage feeling lyrics. And I mean, these guys are like middle aged. I just, I kind of wish that they would have adapted to be middle aged men and to give that perspective. One of the songs was like, "When we were young," and I'm just sitting there thinking, yeah, you should have left this concept to the younger version of yourself. I will say it picks back up in the middle of the album. Turpentine and Other Side were decent songs. But I don't want to rip on it too hard because if you like Blink-182, you might dig this. It is probably pretty fun for a nostalgic aspect as well, and I did kind of enjoy it for that because yeah, I listened to a bit of this, Simple Plan stuff back in the day. But I never really liked Blink-182 in the first place, so that didn't the nostalgia didn't work for me. And so yeah, for me this one was a one and done listen, and I will not be returning to this one. I appreciate the recommendation though, and I hope other people like it. And it's just my opinion. Don't get offended. Um, so from that one, I go on to maybe my favorite recommendation. Actually, the next two are probably my two favorite recommendations I've gotten. And this one comes from Claudia's husband, Zane. Shout out to Zane. He recommended to me Marquee Moon by the band Television. And I know this is a classic album. I just, for whatever reason, I've never gotten around to it. I don't know. I've heard about it. I don't know why I've never listened to it. But with this recommendation, he pushed me to listen to it. And so I'm going to compare it to a couple things first, because to me, this kind of felt like an edgier, punkier Rolling Stones. Like the singer kind of gave me Mick Jagger vibes, a little bit of David Byrne from Talking Heads, a little bit. And it kind of felt like the Clash mixed with Rolling Stones. Like I said, like a punkier Rolling Stones. But I mean, this is great alternative rock, great guitar riffs. I could see this being an inspiration for 90s indie and alternative rock bands, 90s, early 2000s, like Violent Femmes, Arcade Fire, and Built to Spill. I bet those guys have had some inspiration from this album. All the way through, the guitar riffs are awesome. And unique guitar riffs. My favorite track is Friction. It has this great bouncy, groovy riff. The bass is prominent and funky, and then the guitar is doing this cool descending line. That song was so cool. And then it goes right into the title track, which is a 10.5-minute epic song that takes you on a journey. It starts with a great riff and goes on as a normal song, and then goes into like this 5-minute interlude and comes all the way back to the original riff and sound. Incredible. This was my favorite section of the album. Friction into the title track, Marquee Moon. But this whole album is good. This is definitely getting a will return to, possibly my favorite recommendation out of this list. And we go on to, that was Marquee Moon by Television, recommended me by Zane. Shout out. This next one, recommended me from my buddy Eric. This is, I think, my only country album. I kind of have a folky country album coming up, but this is my only country album, like full-on country. This is Benjamin Todd. Crap, I'm missing the... I will have it in the link, but, I mean, listen to anything by this guy, Benjamin Todd, but it's his newest album, 2024, and this came from my buddy Eric. I was actually pissed when I listened to this, because I was like, why the hell wasn't this sent to me before? I loved this. I was like, I had to start a podcast for people to send me music like this? Like, I love this. I mean, this is my favorite kind of country music. Right off the bat, the first track is awesome. I Ain't the One. It has some other fast-paced tracks like this one too, Mary, Would You Stitch Me Up? Good old self-deprecating country lyrics, but this album is good honky-tonk country music, not that stadium country BS. This has fiddles, slide guitars, honky-tonk piano, and that smoky western barroom feel to it. It's got some of that riding a horse in the valley feel to it sometimes. It's got that crying in your beer songs as well. And this is my favorite kind of country. I like the country that makes you feel like you're in a different day and age in like a smoky bar out west, in the middle of the night or something. I like the lyrics as well, some endearing lyrics about wanting to be a better man. I think that if you're a Tyler Childers fan, and honestly, I got a lot of Patsy Cline vibes from this too, which is an older artist but this style kind of emulated some of that. This was great. Definitely returning to this. Benjamin Todd. Don't remember the name of the album for whatever reason. I didn't write it down, but I'm gonna listen to anything by this guy. This is his most recent album from 2024. So shout out to it being a new release too. I like that. Appreciate that. Thanks, Eric. And I'm gonna get into some stuff that's a little out of my typical realm. And this stuff comes from Andrew. I mentioned Andrew in my first episode. He showed me an album by Goth Babe called Lola that I really liked. It's electronic music, not EDM, specifying. And so he recommended me a couple for this one, too. This first one is Rufus Du Sol, Inhale, Exhale. And I'm just going to say that I think the production is really cool. The production is cool. It's fist pumping EDM music. It's fun, dancey. If I was hammered with a bunch of cool lights, I would definitely dig it. But I got to say, the vocals are the aspect that I just could not get past on this one. I think the production is great. And if it was an instrumental, I would like it and probably put it on while working or cleaning to get in the zone and get some good, fun energy going. I think if it was instrumental, I would put this on. But the vocals just continued to bother me. I don't know why. I don't like the singer. And the lyrics are just kind of repetitive and corny. I don't really remember some of the lines, but it would kind of just be like, music is the best. Music is the best, or something, and just kind of over and over again. So not really any lyrical content, which I'm just going to admit right now, I'm a lyrics guy. It's a little tough for me to enjoy stuff that the music has to really do it for me to make up for lyrics not being great. So again, I thought the production was cool. This is fun, kind of maybe house music. But I will say that Andrew's going to enlighten me over time on this kind of music. And we have an idea, actually he had this idea, to get together and he's going to show me a bunch of EDM music or electronic music. And we're going to get my reaction live. And I think he'll be able to enlighten me. And I'll be able to kind of open my mind up a little bit more to this music. Because this is a little bit out of my realm. I don't listen to this kind of stuff very often. I do like some electronic music. I like Louis the Child. I like Grizz. I like Goth Babe from Andrew showed me. Big Gigantic is another one. Caribou. So there are some, but when it gets into this more EDM realm, I don't know that I dig it as much. But I do learn music over time and start to appreciate it, and it just takes a little while. So this was Rufus Du Sol, Inhale, Exhale. I will not be returning to it at this point in time, but who knows? Maybe I'll open my mind to it in the future. Thank you, Andrew, for that recommendation. And here's another one from Andrew. This is Yumi Zuma. Maybe I'm saying that right. Maybe not. This is EP3 by Yumi Zuma, also from Andrew. And I like the vibe of this one more. We're getting closer. But this one kind of had a bit of the opposite problem for me, where I liked the vocals a lot. Though the lyrics didn't do much for me, but the music kind of bored me throughout it. It's a nice vibe, and I like the guitar parts in the background. I really like the vocals. Again, though, lyrically, I didn't capture much from it. I would put this on while having people over because it is accessible, and I think good background music, which sounds like a diss, but it is not. There's a lot of music I consider great for background music, and there's a purpose for that, to have on in the background when people are chilling, just kind of to fill the void of the room, to fill the silence. I think that's important too, and this album is great for that. So I could see myself putting this on during a chill hangout at the house. So I'm giving this a might return to. I don't have a lot more to say. I'm excited for the episode with Andrew where we really dive into this electronic music and maybe open my mind up a little bit more. So I appreciate him with the recommendations, and definitely go check this out too. You know, if you're into that kind of music, you'll probably like it because Andrew's a connoisseur of this kind of music. So he's the guy to go to. So now we're going to a completely different realm. We got two recommendations from Metalhead Matt. That's what I call him. It's just Matt, but I'm calling him Metalhead Matt because he listens to metal. And he gave me a couple recommendations here. The first one is Blood Incantation, Absolute Elsewhere. This is metal, but it has a lot of progressive rock interludes. Like it bounces back and forth between like 70s prog rock and death metal. So it's like it bounces back and forth between Rush and Mastodon. And Matt hates Mastodon, so it's kind of funny that I'm using that. But Mastodon's popular enough that people will know what I'm talking about, I think. And it's also funny to bother him with that. Not a lot of vocals on this album, mostly instrumental, but when the vocals come in, they're pretty dark and growly. So the album is essentially split into two sections of 3 parts, or as they call them, tablets. The Stargate tablets 1 through 3 and the Message tablets 1 through 3. Personally, I like the Message more, especially because of tablet 2. It literally starts like a Rush song and then goes from there into what's a Pink Floyd sounding song. And then it goes back into tablet 3 with an 11-minute epic high energy end to the album, just high energy metal. And then it goes into a more ambient few minutes at the end. I mean, this album, I know I use the word journey a lot, but that's the kind of stuff I like. I like albums that really take you on a ride. And this album takes you on a ride, and it is a journey, and I really enjoyed it. This gets a will return to as well. Next up, another from Metalhead Matt, Counterparts. The album is called You're Not You Anymore. Band is called Counterparts. And this was a more punk sounding than other hardcore metal, in my opinion. Matt is a connoisseur of metal music. You know, he might roll his eyes at parts of this review, but that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing more punk sounding than other metal I've heard. And it's cool because it goes in and out of these like quiet, quick, ambient interludes and then just right back in your face. And I kind of feel like that adds to the album, you know, with that punch in your face. Also, I love the very cool melodic high-pitched riffs in the background. No Servant of Mine has my favorite one of these. I think something that I noticed with this album is it's anthemic. You can sing, like, I hear people singing along to it, like fans in the crowd. That's kind of what I imagine. You know, on the song Bouquet, which is the first, like, real song, it goes, I find it hard to feel alive while my heart beats in borrowed time. And I can just imagine people singing along to that. I also wanted to do this because I think Matt will get a kick out of this. And also on the song You Haunt Me, he goes, you haunt me like an empty home. Also on Swim Beneath My Skin, you know, I won't let you drown inside me. And just these anthemic things that you can sing along with. And I just picture like arms around each other or each other's shoulders or fists pumping in the air, just belting it out at a concert, you know, in between moshing probably. But I love that about it. And that's what I love about punk music too, is that there are these anthemic feelings to it. And so with each listen, I recognize more riffs and more vocal parts, which makes me like it more with each listen. Because there's a lot going on. It's pretty chaotic, so you have to listen to it quite a bit to actually become familiar with these parts. But yeah, this is kick-ass, and I have been returning to it already quite a bit, so this is a will return to as well, and already have returned to it. All right, next, and I'm going to try to go a little faster because I got a few more to go through. Recommendation from my brother-in-law, Adam, Ram, Paul McCartney. I should say Paul McCartney and Linda McCartney, because his wife has some writing and production credits and some backing vocal parts on it, and she is listed on the album too. But yeah, this was a fun listen. I'm kind of comparing this to, and I want to say it's like Paul McCartney's White Album by the Beatles. because there's a lot of different sounds and changes in sounds and songs and topics. I mean, there's really a variety on here. He takes you on a journey. Songs about random characters, Uncle Albert and Admiral Halsey, and all different kinds of genres, kind of. I mean, he's got rock songs on here with Too Many People and Eat at Home, which are probably my two favorite. I think Eat at Home might be my favorite song on this album. And then blues stuff too with the song Three Legs, which has a great breakdown at the end of it. Uh, Even more acoustic with I think ukulele on Ram On. And then even like the typical kind of, at least I think of Paul McCartney with these bouncy piano tunes. With Monkberry Moon Delight has that Paul McCartney piano bounce to it that I recognized. And even country, like the song Heart of the Country. And Paul's voice just sounds great throughout it. I love when he gives his loud rock voice. There's great vocal layers and harmonies on it. Yeah, this is a fun listen and a lot of variety to it. And all the lyrics are kind of cheeky and fun and, nothing too serious. It's great. This is a will return to as well. All right, so the other one that Adam recommended to me, and I'm not sure if he liked it or not, but he kind of said, hey, I just listened to this. You should listen to this. And it's the new Linkin Park album. I didn't write down the name of it, but it's the new Linkin Park album. And they have a new female singer on this one because, if you're not aware, the original singer, Chester Bennington, passed away. Tragic, R.I.P. There was a bit of a controversy around this. And I typically don't always like when bands reform without one of the key members. But I do typically enjoy female vocalists more than male vocalists, just generally speaking. So I was excited to hear this and see if I liked it more because I do admit that I am not a Linkin Park fan, generally. And so I got to say, she sounds great on this. She has a great scream in some sections. The song Casualty kicks ass. I like every part that she is singing on. The parts I don't quite enjoy are the regular Linkin Park rap rock stuff, which I kind of feel like there's only one band that really pulled that off, the rap rock thing, and that was Rage Against the Machine. I really, I'm not into the Limp Bizkits of the world. But this is not a bad album by any means. I just don't particularly like the rap rock stuff, but she sounds amazing, and this is a pretty good album, and I think it's a fairly typical Linkin Park sound that they're doing on this. So if you're a fan, you'll probably like it. And I added a couple songs to my playlist. I don't know that I'll go back to it as a full album, so I got to give this a rating of might return to, or a kind of return to. So, but that's the new Linkin Park album recommended from Adam. Thanks, Adam. All right, my last person in the recommendations gave me two. This is from my friend Travis. He recommended to me Daniel Rodriguez, Vast Nothing, which this is folk music, I would say, with country qualities to it, and I liked it. Wholesome vocals and lyrics. I like his voice. It gave me Amos Lee, but with more country-ish vibes. David Gray. It kind of reminded me of David Gray, too. He gives you a lot of different sounds while still remaining cohesive. It's a cohesive album, but he gives you kind of some more like Mumford & Sons sounding stuff towards the beginning, and then more country sounding-ish stuff as well. Pride and Truth and Glimpse of Infinity have great slide guitar parts, and those are kind of more country-ish. I think my favorite song on this is Wild Horse, and it's groovy, and it gave me like Sting solo album vibes, Sting from the Police. That's kind of what it reminded me of, and I just loved the imagery of the lyrics that he had on this. He's talking about steam coming from a horse's mouth, and it's galloping, and the earth shakes like thunder. And throughout this whole album, very great poetic lyrics. I think the first song talks about crackling fire and burning candles, and the concept of the album, the way I'm interpreting it, vast nothing. Actually, I'm sorry. The first song is about static. It's coming through the static or something like that. Um, but I think he says something like, "Tell me something good," and coming through the static. And the way I interpret that is that the static of life can be distracting, and all these distractions can take away from the good things in life too. So he's telling, and he describes that there's this bit of sound coming through the radio, through the static. And I just thought that that was a really cool concept. And I think that might kind of be the concept of the album too. Vast nothing. Um, yeah, I really liked this. I really liked this. And I've actually listened to it a few times. It's very chill. I think you can put it on around a lot of people too. It's accessible. And I thought the lyrics are great. The sound is great. This is a good album. Yeah. I have and will return to it. Daniel Rodriguez, Vast Nothing. All right, and I'm going to give you a quick one on the last one. Widespread Panic. I don't remember the name of the album as well. It's the new Widespread Panic album. All of these will be in the descriptions list as well. But I'm a fan of Widespread Panic, and I typically like their albums. I only got to go through this one time, but it didn't quite do it for me. There was a couple duds on there that I just didn't like, and the lyrics were just kind of corny. The guitar riffs were cool. Actually, I'll say the guitar solos were really cool. The guitar riffs were kind of like, I think they went a little heavier than they typically do on this, which I don't know if I particularly liked. I kind of like when they just jam a lot, I'm a Widespread Panic fan, and it may be that I kind of just want to go back to their other albums. So I got to go back to this one, and so I'm giving this a might listen to. But I wanted to get it into this one because it is a 2024 release, and I appreciate, the newer release ones. So, all right, I know I went a little long, but I got a lot of recommendations from you guys, and I really, really appreciate that, and that's what this podcast is all about. So thank you so much for the recommendations. I hope I didn't offend anybody. And I have quite a few more to get to as well. So, the next recommendation podcast probably won't be for another month or even more, because I have other episodes I want to do. Because I'm going to get into my top 25 albums of 2024 coming up. Those are going to be the next episodes coming out. Thank you so much for listening. Keep sharing music with me. I love it, and I love experiencing what you guys are listening to. So thank you. Have a good one.